Welcome, everybody, once again to Mr. Hague's podcast. All right, today, the 3-lettered entrance exams. Talk about the SAT and the ACT. Well, just mentioning that might bring a couple of attitude shifts depending on the type of student that you are. If you were anything the way I was, it might bring shivers down your spine. The very letters SAT, wow. Yeah, I took that a couple of times, a few times, and I didn't do that badly. I mean, I did good enough to get it into Penn State, but man, oh man, I really scared of those things. I didn't even consider the ACT till later. But the SATs, I just never really developed a brain for that. But that was me. I mean, there are some students who just aren't very good with the SATs, but then again, there's some students who are like, SATs, bring it, let's do it. I have the confidence that I'm going to kill it. Yep. So if you're that type of student, that's awesome. Okay, but there are a lot of students who are struggling with it, and they try to get into a certain college, and that certain college requires a certain kind of score from these entrance exams. And you can be either resentful with it, or you can be like, well, this is what needs to be done to get into a particular college. For those of you who have the attitude I had about the SATs, this podcast should shed some light on the importance of the entrance exams and why they're being used. And I think once you find out why they're being used by certain colleges, you will probably have an understanding and not be so resentful about it. And of course, if you're like, hey, let's do it. Let's go ahead and do it. I can do this. Well, that's awesome. So this podcast is mainly for, students who are kind of dreading the SATs. But at the same time, if you're really doing well in it, I'd like to educate you in exactly the spirit behind these entrance exams, why they're being used, the controversy behind them. And, for the most part, just the essence behind the SATs, how to study for it, how to prepare for it. It's not like studying for a regular school exam, obviously. There's a little bit more strategy involved, a little bit more knowledge, and of course you get better with experience. And so let's talk about it, okay? So let's discuss some of the misconceptions of these entrance exams. No, it's not there to weed out the weak, underperforming students. Okay, so if you're not doing good in school, they're gonna, this is the nail in your coffin. You're not going anywhere. Okay, no. If anything, the SATs and the ACT can actually save you. I've seen students with a 2.5 GPA. They're not very good at school. They don't like study. They're not motivated, but then they just absolutely do brilliantly in the SATs, and they get into the college of their choice. Okay, so the SATs are valued in many, many ways, many, many colleges. And I understand that sometimes it could be discriminatory, or many minority groups have said that, it doesn't cater to a lot of minority or inner city youths. Well, as a teacher, I've seen people of color, students of color, blacks and Hispanics. They took the SATs and they did amazing. They really excelled. They got the top 5% score of the nation, and they went to the college of their choice. I mean, I don't see that they're biased. I mean, yes, inner city schools and some low-income schools may not have the resources or the valued books to allow a student to have the same quality exposure as, say, a more wealthier or upper class area. But I can't really speak for everybody, but I'm just saying that I've seen minority groups, blacks and Hispanics, all sorts of races. They thrive in the SATs, mainly because they do things differently. They have a different study habit. They prepare better. I mean, it's a matter of reading and increasing your vocabulary, doing some math problems. And of course, there's another misconception about the College Board itself, the people who make these entrance exams, saying that they're greedy, they charge a lot, they make over $1 billion a year. Well, look, okay, the College Board is a nonprofit. And so they make $1 billion. What's it to you? I mean, they're making $1 billion. Okay, the bottom line is that you let these little things worry you. That just tells me you're not ready for the entrance exams. Let's face it, if you're trying to tell yourself to the reasons why you shouldn't take it, well, I mean, that's kind of like you need to have an attitude shift. It really doesn't matter whether you think that you should take it or not. If the college wants it, you need to deliver it. I mean, so what if they're making $1 billion? A college wants to see the scores. That's all that matters. You need to shift your attitude. It doesn't matter how corrupt, how expensive, how unfair those entrance exams are. The colleges, they want to see some sort of indicator that you will be successful in college within the first couple of years there. And that's really the purpose. You might think, well, okay, what about GPAs and what about extracurricular activities? Well, let me tell you something about college. The college environment is not like the high school environment. And you might be telling yourself, well, I knew that. Well, let me tell you, okay, from someone who's been to a few colleges, okay, it's a rather lonely place. I mean, yeah, you'll make friends, you'll go party, you go crazy. I mean, you go to football games, or you might stay in a dorm, and you might stay up all night and be with friends. But the bottom line is your success is really about you. In college, you got to carry your own weight. Nobody is there to really hold your hand. And I'm not saying that no one's there going to help you. Not, some professors will definitely help you. Some teachers' assistants, they will definitely help you. But you got to seek it out. It's really up to you. Okay, it's up to you to study. It's up to you to go to libraries. It's up to you to do your research. The college environment is very much up to you. And the last things that colleges want to do is to unenroll or remove a student because of underperformance. They don't want to do that because it's very hurtful. It doesn't make the school look good. They have certain numbers they want to maintain. For instance, the amount of people who graduate as opposed to how many people are accepted. And we'll go into that in a few minutes here. They want their freshmen, entering transfers to go on to graduate. They don't want to deal with students who are underperforming and have to be removed from their program. It's painful. It's embarrassing. Nobody wins. So these entrance exams are a good indicator to measure whether a particular student, will be successful within the first 2 years of them attending college. And yeah, you can say, oh, well, the UCs, the University of Californians, are bypassing the SATs and they're making it optional. And a bunch of these other schools are also making SATs optionals. Let me shed some light to why they're doing that. And to be quite honest, I don't know. I'm just speculating here. You got to understand, we're in the middle of a pandemic. And colleges are struggling to get students to come in. All across the country, enrollment is kind of down. Students are not really wanting to learn remotely. They want to be on campus. They want to experience the college life. And who can blame them? They should have the college life. It's a part of growing up. But because of what's happening, enrollment is down. They are looking for, obviously with the more students you have, the more revenues you generate. But despite it all, and despite the fact that there's the thought of the University of California and some other schools of making the SATs and the ACTs optional, there is no way that these schools, who hold a high reputation worldwide, I mean, people across the planet want to go to the University of California system. There's no way that they're going to lower the quality of students that they seek. Let's talk about 3 California colleges and one other college. So the 3 California colleges, Stanford, USC, UCLA, and then let's compare it to Arizona State University. The acceptance rate for Stanford is only 5%. So in other words, 95% of applicants get rejected. The entrance rate for USC is also 5%. At UCLA, well, a little relief. It's at 14%. Highly, highly competitive. Now, Arizona State, 88% acceptance rate. So, yeah, pretty much if you can breathe, you can go into Arizona State. But hear me out, though, okay? Hear me out before you... I went to Arizona State. There is something to be said about that. Okay, in Stanford, remember, 5% acceptance rate. The average SATs is 1420 to 1570, and the highest you can get is 1600. SATs average, again, is between 1420 to 1570. So 1570 out of 1600, that's a near perfect score. These people are smart, they're brilliant, they are just academically superior. At USC, it's a little bit lower. 1340 to 1530 is the average. So some people get 1340, some people get 1530, some people get 1600. UCLA, okay, we're talking a little bit lower, about 100 points lower than USC, 200 points lower than Stanford. So average is between 1290 to 1520, which, by the way, is amazing. And at Arizona State, average SAT score is about 1100 to about 1320, which is not challenging to do. I mean, it's not easy, but it's not bad, but certainly a far cry from what Stanford and USC and UCLA want. The average GPA of the students who enter Stanford, 4.2 on a 4.0 scale, which is the same for USC. So remember, it's average. I don't think there's less than a 3.7 or 3.6. I'm sure there's some people who have a 4.5. I know students have a 4.7. So UCLA, same thing, 4.3 on a 4.0 scale. Now ASU, the average GPA is about a 3.42 on a 4.0 scale. And if you're a decent student, you can easily get that. Here's where the difference is. The average salary from students within the beginning years of their career. At Arizona State, the average salary of students who graduate there and when they go into workforce is about $47,000 a year. Not bad. Some people make less, some people make more. UCLA, the average salary is a little higher, $60,000. Okay, remember Arizona State, 47. UCLA is at 60. USC, the first year of careers for graduates, $74,000. So you're talking about a whopping $30,000 a year more than the Arizona State student. And Stanford, as they say in New York, forget about it. The average Stanford students that graduate and the salary that they make within the first few years of their career, $94,000. That's almost $50,000 more than ASU, $34,000 more than UCLA, $20,000 more than USC. These people are determined and they're accomplishers. Now, it's not to say that if you go to the local junior college over here or some other small unknown college that you're going to make about $20,000. I don't believe that one bit. I know people who dropped out. Mark Zuckerberg dropped out. Look at him, one of the richest men in the world. Bill Gates dropped out. Steve Jobs never even went. Well, actually, he did go. He dropped out. So, but those are exceptions to the rule. The bottom line is that these students are exceptional, and the schools will not undermine their reputation Okay, you got to understand, Stanford is a think tank. It is one of the world's largest think tanks. Countries, nations, dignitaries look to Stanford and their professors for advice, for basically being a think tank. You got to come up with sound decision making. You got to offer good advice to these world leaders. And a lot of these schools, USC, UCLA, and Stanford, they have a lot of Nobel Prize winners. You think Nobel Prize winner is going to settle for somebody who's a party animal? No. They're going to work with people who are the best. They're going to want the best students in the world. They want to have students with strong minds, a strong passion for learning, a strong passion for getting results. So not to say that USC and UCLA don't party. I'm sure they do. I've been to Stanford parties, okay? But those students, they'll go ahead and have fun during the weekends, but they'll definitely put down their drinks and they go ahead and into the week and they study textbooks and they read like maybe 5 or 6 books a week. It's just really crazy. So back to the entrance exams. Those are the kind of students because they want to see how tough it is. The higher the score, the more likely you'll succeed. And believe me, at Stanford, USC, and UCLA, or any of the UC systems, it is rigorous, it is tough, it is hard, it is very, very challenging. And let's go through one more stat. So let's talk about how many people graduate. So Stanford, 5% acceptance rate, but 94% graduation rate. So in other words, 94% of the entering freshmen go on to graduate. USC, again, 5% acceptance rate, but 92% go on to graduate. At UCLA, 14% acceptance rate, 82% go on to graduate. In Arizona State, 88% acceptance rate, but only 55% go on to graduate. So you tell me why that is. If you let 88% of your applicants come into your school, and then only 55% of them, and I thought that was high. When I was there, I think the graduation rate was like 30%. Okay, I mean, what other quality of students are you getting? Arizona State was a tough school. It was hard. When I got in there, I mean, it was hard. I had to study my brain off. I mean, it was, they really weed out the weaker students, the students that don't apply themselves. You got to study. And so now here's the thing, the transfer students, you have to have a 3.0 pretty much to get in. So a little bit more rigorous entering into Arizona State. I'm not trying to mock Arizona State. Okay, I mean, there's a reason why they have that, and it's an exceptional school. It's a major research university, a lot of great things there, beautiful campus. I mean, it's a great experience. But it's not Stanford. It's not Harvard. It's not Yale. It's none of that. If you have students who at Stanford, I mean, are getting close to perfect scores on their SATs, that tells you something about the students. That means they can handle Stanford. Okay, so here's for ASU, 45% can't handle Arizona State. Okay, so that's why these entrance exams are there, because they are a good indicator to the success of a student within the first couple of years of college. So what, like I said, what is the spirit behind it? I mean, how can you be successful with these entrance exams? Let me tell you something. If by some weird wizardry, okay, these schools that I just mentioned, the UCs or any other reputable school, if they do replace the entrance exams, if they decide they're not going to use it, you better darn well believe they'll replace it with something else. And to me, that's even more frightening. What if these schools come up with their own entrance exam? Yikes. I mean, let's look at West Point. Not only do you have to have an exceptional academic record, an exceptional performance in the entrance exams, but you got to have a physical, and you have to have certain letters of recommendation from high-class people like senators and congressmen. I mean, every school is different. Every school looks for different things and have different ways of measuring. But with the SATs, it's nationwide. You can prepare for it. Now, if every one of these schools has their own form of entrance exams, oh my God, which one do you prepare for? So I don't think that type of measurement is going to go away. I really don't. They might say, yeah, SATs are optional, but if you decide you want to take it and you do really well in it, turn it in. Especially if your GPA is not good. If you did less than a 3.0 in high school, an exceptional performance at the SATs will definitely save you or help you get into a college. No doubt. I mean, the SATs, here's the thing about the SATs. The SATs measure your ability to learn things outside of the classroom. The ACT more measures what a student may already know. It's like there's biology and English and math. It covers material that the student should have learned during high school. So it's a different scoring system. It's a different kind of measurement. I don't think it's as valued as much as the SAT. The SAT is basically, you don't know what they're going to give you, what kind of questions they'll ask. I mean, there's the reading, there's the writing now, there is the math part, and with the reading or the English part, they give you paragraphs. You have to analyze a paragraph. There's analogies. There's a lot of other little gimmicky thing, and it's all strategy. The successful people who go through the SATs, they read. They don't just end their academics at the classroom. In other words, once they leave a classroom, they put it all behind, forget about it until the next day. No. Successful SAT people read books, they read magazines, they read journals, they read peer-reviewed journals, they read reputable literature, the National Geographic, the Smithsonian. They read all that stuff. They're curious minds. They study things. I mean, they have answers to just about everything because they have a form of curiosity. They read the newspaper. And of course, a lot of them read books. Harry Potter, you better believe it. That's awesome. If these young kids start reading Harry Potter, awesome. I had a parent who never really emphasized reading. I mean, I was really good at math, and that helped save my SATs. My dad was more science, more engineering kind of person, so he emphasized more about math and numbers, and I did really well, but never really did he ask me to read, and never really concerned about my reading ability. And I'm going to be very honest, that to me is extremely important, because if you can learn to read and read well and comprehend, everything else comes with it, even the math. However, the top-notch high school students are really in the Northeast, the Boston, the New Jersey, New York area. Those are exceptional. Why can't colleges just go by the GPA? Well, that would be nice. But here's why. Simply put, not all schools are alike. Getting straight A's from one school may not be the same as getting straight A's from another school. These colleges recruit from specific schools, not just any school, and certainly not just for sports. When I was substitute teaching, I would go to different high schools and sub different subjects. And one thing I would notice is that I would see recruiters, and I'm not going to mention the high school, but in this one high school, I've seen recruiters from UCLA, Stanford, Yale, Harvard. I've seen a lot of amazing high-powered colleges recruit from this one high school, and I'm like, wow, what is it about these high school? Well, those kids are well-groomed, they're smart, they sit quietly, they do their work, and then when they're not doing their work, they're reading a novel. And then I would go to another high school, which is, not a bad-looking high school. Again, I'm not going to mention name, but I sit there and kids, if they see a sub, they're not really doing the work. They're kind of talking. They're kind of just doing their own thing and making noise or on their phones. And they're certainly not reading any novels. But guess what? No recruiters. Okay, nothing. Nobody. Zilcho. Okay, because the schools don't have the numbers that these reputable colleges look for. Now, there are some schools that offer several career pathways. They also offer advanced placement courses and IB courses, maybe even some early college programming. So those are schools that kind of set you apart. But again, the SATs is a more stronger, reputable indicator of success, not all these high-end courses. I just think that the classes, the schools, should better prepare the students for the SATs. So while the GPA is a strong indicator of academic success, it's not the only game in town. And again, colleges weigh or give value to the GPA based on which school they came from. But the SAT is universal. It's everywhere. You're competing against all people, all students from around the country. Okay, so now I have read that the UC system is making the SATs or the entrance exams optional. But like I said, it's nothing for you to get up and jump for joy. If you have a low GPA, or if your GPA does not meet the average student, you need to do well on the SATs. Taking the SATs can actually get you into the college of your choice if you do really well. I know people who got SATs and they got scholarships. They did exceptionally well in the SATs and they were offered scholarships. You know, there are several ways that you can prepare for the SATs and the ACTs. There's educationalplanner.org, and there's a couple of other websites on my on mrhagesclass.com that you can look to that can help you prepare for the SATs. One other way of doing it is to take preparatory courses, either online, buy a good book, and just take test after test after test. It's all about strategy. There's a method to the madness. You know, read about what the test scorers look for. And they're out there. It's no secret. Study the formulas. You know, there's ways to win that may not just be covered in school, because you got to remember, schools support the type of people in their immediate community. The SATs is about you versus the world. What do you do outside of that? Read science articles, read newspaper, read intellectual articles, read materials that bore you. Seriously, I'm being very honest here. Read about how the crab mates, okay, or how an earthworm digs into the ground, or whatever the case may be. Read something that is so utterly boring and you have no interest in it, but you read it because you want to train your eyes to read and comprehend. Take a speed reading course and learn to read with your eyes instead of saying the verbiage to your mind. You know, like sometimes you read, you kind of talk to yourself, you say things to yourself. Read with your eyes. Increase your vocabulary. Okay, use flashcards. Write a word on one side and the definition on the other. That's really, really important. And take practice test after practice test after practice. Keep on doing it. And if there's a moment where you like, okay, I'm ready now, then stop taking the practice test, then go take the SATs and get into Stanford, okay? So it's, again, it all depends on which college you want to go to and what kind of life you want. It is, going to these colleges that I mentioned, the Stanfords, the UCLAs, the USC, even the Arizona States. It's a shift. It can be stressful. And so they want to make sure they have the right candidate that can handle the stress level. But at the same time, have fun. Enjoy. It's a very big time in your life. I have faith in you. This is Mr. Hague. Do great.